This is an audio recording of Bob the Photographer by Arthur M. Winfield, narrated by Right Here Audio. Chapter 21. Bob Takes a Risk. If the young photographer was astonished, so was the Irishman. "Fat you," he gasped. "Mike Grogan," ejaculated Bob. He darted a swift glance around the interior of the room and was even more taken back than before by beholding Casco and Barker seated at the table, a bottle between them. "Is that Alden, boy?" cried Casco. "Alden!" exclaimed Barker, jumping up. "How did he find out we were here?" "I don't know. Is he alone?" "No, there's a man with him, and hang me if it isn't Joe Horning." "What? Joe Horning, the circus fakir?" "Yes. What does he want?" "Give it up." Barker moved towards the door, which Grogan still held open. Bob was trying to think. What should he do? Confronting the villainous trio had completely upset his calculations. He had half a mind to run away. It was certain the trio would help Horning and not himself when they understood the situation. But Casco seemed to realize what was passing through the young photographer's mind. For a quick movement, he sprang past Grogan and caught Bob by the arm. "Come in here," he said sharply. Bob marched into the place. Horning followed, and then the door was locked, and the Irishman placed the key in his pocket. Bob glanced around curiously. He saw that the cottage contained nothing but a rude table and several boxes for seats, and rightly conjectured that the trio had found it deserted and made of it a temporary rendezvous. "Now tell me what brings you here," demanded Barker, facing Bob savagely. "I came to get help," returned the youth as coolly as he could. "Help? For what?" "To take this man to the lockup." "What? Horning?" "Yes." "That's rich." And both Barker and Casco laughed. "Shake," said Casco to the fakir. "I can't, my hands are tied," returned Horning rather sheepishly. "Blame me if they ain't, so the boy had you a prisoner, Joe." "Yes," growled the swindler. "He hit me in the head with a rock first and knocked me silly. He did not fancy having the others think he had been overpowered by a boy." "Why was he after you?" "We had a row up to the fairgrounds." "I was after him because he tried to steal my money and then stole a horse and carriage," returned Bob. There was a general laugh, but at whose expense it was hard to say. Casco cut the cord which bound Horning. The first thing the swindler did when released was to confront Bob. "I've a good mind to fix you for that crack in the head," he cried. "Hold up, Joe, he's our game," interrupted Casco. "He is," added Barker. "And don't worry about that. We'll get square with him," said Grogan. "You seem to know him pretty well," remarked Horning. "We do," said Casco. He turned to Bob. "See here, how long have you been following us since you escaped from Cabot's place?" "I haven't been following you at all." "I don't believe you." "Well, if you know better, what do you ask me for?" "Don't get impudent. Do you know that you are in our power?" "Seems to me I was in your power before." And Bob grinned. "Sure, and he's a terror," remarked Grogan. "He is that," said Horning. "But I say, what are you three fellows doing out here? I thought you were in New York." Barker winked at him. The wink was not intended to reach Bob, but nevertheless the youth caught it. "They are up to no good, that's certain," he thought. If they were merely hiding from the authorities, they would choose some more congenial spot than this. Barker now produced a rope and was about to tie Bob up when Grogan came forward. "Fat the good o' that?" he says. "Sure, and the bite can get out and like a snake." "You're right," said Casco. "He's the imp's own. Put him in one of the back rooms and place Mike to watch him. I want to talk to Joe." Grogan's face fell a little, but when Casco said he could take the bottle along for company, the Irishman was reconciled. Barker conducted Bob to a room separate from that now occupied. Here the young photographer was tied to a support under a heavy shelf and left in care of Grogan. Grogan at once settled himself on a box and, filling his pipe, lit it. "As yez don't drink, I'll take a sup for ya," he said, and took a deep potion. "What are you fellows doing up here, Grogan?" asked Bob, as cheerful as he could. "Ax me no questions," muttered Grogan. "If you want to think of something cheerful, think of how we will trate you in the morning." Bob was compelled to shiver, and he became silent. Once more was he in the power of this lawless set of men. Quarter of an hour dragged by. Grogan sat calmly smoking with his small eye fastened on the young photographer. He did not intend to give the youth the first chance to escape. Bob heard the murmur of voices, and he knew Casco, Barker, and Horning were talking over some matter of importance. While the time slipped slowly by, Bob heard a distant rumble which came closer and then died away utterly. It must have been a train. I did not know we were so close to the tracks, thought the youth. Presently Grogan took another drink and again lit his pipe, but now Bob noticed that the Irishman did not puff so vigorously as before. Was he growing drowsy? Fervidly, the youth hoped so. He watched Grogan as a cat watches a mouse, and he was filled with hope when he saw the man's pipe fall and the Irishman make no effort to restore it to his mouth. Now is my chance, said Bob to himself, and he set swiftly to work to free himself. As Grogan was to watch the prisoner, Barker had been rather careless in tying Bob up. The bonds were soon slipped off, and then raising one of the windows, Bob leaped out. Just as he did so, Grogan started up. Seeing the youth disappear through the opening, he gave a loud cry, which soon brought the others to the scene. "Where is he, Mike? After him, boys!" Yes, he must not get away this time. Meanwhile, Bob was running away as fast as his feet could move. When about 100 yards from the cottage, he looked back and saw that all 4 men were in pursuit. On he dashed until, striking a stone with his toe, he went down flat on the ground. He arose as quickly as possible, but the time lost had enabled his pursuers almost to close the distance between them. Bob was not but 50 feet from the railroad tracks, which were situated on a small embankment. As he ran up towards the tracks, he saw a slow freight approaching. Should he board one of the cars? It might afford an excellent means of escape. With a glare of the headlight, the train came along. Bob ran to meet it with the 4 men not far behind him. A moment later, Bob was on the train. Chapter 22. Bob on the freight train. The young photographer did not have the chance to look back at his pursuers. He had one foot on the iron step of the car, and though the train was going at a slow rate of speed, he found it no easy task to draw himself up on the narrow platform. "Come back!" he heard Barker cry. He paid no attention to the order, satisfied that anything would be preferable to falling again into the hands of the villainous crowd who were pursuing him. At last, with a mighty effort, the youth drew himself up. The ladder leading to the top of the car was close at hand, and to this he clung while the train swung around a curve and out of sight of those left on the embankment. "By jinks! But that was a narrow escape," muttered Bob to himself as he drew a long breath. Bob remained where he was for 5 minutes or more, trying to regain his breath and collect his thoughts at the same time. "I would like to know what those men are doing out here," he soliloquized. "Maybe they are planning to rob a house in the vicinity. They are certainly up to no good." The freight train made a strong rumble as it moved along, but presently Bob fancied he heard footsteps on the top of the car behind him. He was not mistaken, for in a moment the form of a man appeared overhead. The man looked down as if searching for something. "One of the train hands, most likely," thought Bob. "Maybe he saw what took place and wants to know what it's all about." Bob was about to call out when he made a discovery that filled him with surprise. The man above was James Casco. Casco had jumped aboard the 6th car behind the one boarded by the young photographer. That he was bent on searching out Bob, the youth felt certain, and he crouched low as the man bent down to get a better view in the semi-darkness. "Must be the next platform," Bob heard Casco mutter, although I was almost certain it was this one. He was about to pass on when just then the train rolled past a farmhouse, from the upper windows of which seemed a strong light. The light fell directly upon Bob, and Casco caught a full view of him. "So I found you, eh?" muttered the scar-faced man with a gleam of satisfaction in his eyes. "What do you want here?" demanded Bob. "You know well enough, Alden." "I must confess I do not. You think now you have discovered our plans, you will inform the authorities and have us all bagged." "What makes you think that?" asked Bob with interest, for he did not know the men had any plans. "I can put 2 and 2 together. You were in that neighborhood tracking us. You seem to know all about it. I've watched you on the sly. Do you deny that you also called on Gregory Maverick?" "What has that got to do with it?" "You know as well as I, Alden. But it won't do you any good. You might as well give up trying to hunt down this crowd. It can't be done." Bob was much mystified by his speech. Evidently, Casco took it for granted that he knew much more than was a fact. "Perhaps I can do more than you think, Casco," he said on a venture. "You can if I allow you to get away, maybe. But I don't intend any such thing shall happen." "What do you mean?" "Simply this. You imagine you can ride through Stampton on this train, don't you?" "Perhaps so. And when you arrive there you will call on Maverick and the chief of police and send word all along the line to search for us. You will do nothing of the sort." "Who will prevent me?" questioned Bob as calmly as he could, even though he knew what to expect by way of an answer. "Who will prevent you?" "I will." "I don't see how." "I'll show you. Do you see this?" As Casco spoke, he shoved the muzzle of a pistol down in the neighborhood of the young photographer's head. "Do you intend to kill me in cold blood?" "I intend to make you mind me, Alden. When I give the command, you will jump from the train." Bob shrank back in horror. The freight train was now moving at the rate of 20 miles an hour, and a jump would be full of peril. He looked around for some means by which to protect himself, but the narrow platform was bare, and he was without weapon of any kind. "What if I do some firing on my own account?" Bob asked, more to gain time than anything else. "Have you a pistol?" Instead of replying, Bob made a leap upwards, and before Casco could draw back, the youth had hold of the pistol and had wrenched it from his hand. "Stop!" cried the scar-faced man. "Give me that pistol!" "I'll give you one of the bullets. Stay where you are." With the pistol in one hand, Bob turned and ran up the iron ladder to the top of the adjoining car. As did this, Casco, instead of complying with Bob's command, arose and hurried along the top plank of the freight car. "Stop!" cried Bob, jumping across the opening and making after the rascal. But it was too dark to see the planking clearly, and afraid of missing his footing, the young photographer was compelled to go slow. Casco, on the other hand, had once been a brakeman, and he ran over the planking of several cars at a lively rate and then disappeared from view. With the pistol ready for use, Bob made his way along until he came face to face with one of the train hands. "Hello? Jack? Is that you?" called out the man. "No," replied Bob, and added, "I am after a thief who is aboard this train. Did he just pass you?" "Nobody passed me." "You're sure he's on board?" "He was a minute ago." And as briefly as possible, Bob related what had occurred. "He must be a desperate fellow," said the train hand with a shake of his head. "He is, and I want to catch him in the worst way." "Humph! Well, let us take a look with the lantern. We don't want any such fellows on this train." The man got his lantern from the caboose, and the two began a rapid search around each car. "He might have dropped down on one of the platforms and swung himself into one of the empty cars," suggested the train hand. "Or he might have jumped off." "I don't think he jumped off," replied Bob. "Let us look into those cars just ahead." The train hand went ahead, and not without difficulty, swung himself into one of the empty cars. Seeing how the thing was done, Bob started to do the same upon the car ahead. He reached the guide upon which the door hung, and was making his way along it towards the opening, when Casco's head suddenly appeared from out of the empty car. "Now I have you!" cried the scar-faced man. He reached out, and catching Bob by the arm, attempted to throw the young photographer from the train.